Good morning, everybody, and a happy Tuesday morning to you. Once again, we have a lot of stuff, a lot of real working royal news and a lot of Harry, Meghan stuff, some shocking stuff. So let's just jump in and cover it all, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off with the very last day of Ascot. King Charles was seen beaming and waving at the crowds on the fifth and final day. Remember, this event is considered one of the most important in the racing calendar. It always gets huge crowds. And Charles was there for all 5 days, even though he's undergoing regular weekly treatments for cancer, and it was hot. So riding along in the first carriage, obviously you have King Charles, Queen Camilla, you have Sir Mark Prescott, who is an English racing horse trainer with over 2,000 wins to his name, and Miss Lizzie Spender, who is a very successful actress. Personally, I think it's a testament to the king that with everything going on in his life, he managed to make it to all 5 Ascots. I really thought he might make it to 1 or 2, not all 5. Now we come up to carriage number 2. The placement directly behind King Charles and Queen Camilla's lead carriage, they said, is a significant honor. In the second carriage, you had Eugenie and her husband, Jack Brooksbank. Traveling with them was racehorse trainer Ed Walker and his wife, Camilla Walker. Jack Brooksbanks looks very nice. All right, now we're at the third carriage, and you have Mr. David Howden and Mrs. David Howden. Just so you know, David Howden is the founder and CEO of Howden's Group. He was awarded a Commander of the Order of the British Empire in the King's Birthday Honor List for 2025 for extraordinary contributions and services of people across the UK. Also, Lord and Lady Ashton of Hyde. Lord Ashton is the 4th Baron of Hyde, and he is a hereditary peer. And in the last carriage, you have Mr. and Mrs. Rory Bremner. He is a Scottish impressionist and comedian. And Mr. and Mrs. Nicky Henderson, he is a British racecourse trainer and has been the British jump racing champion trainer 6 times in a row. You know, I learned something that I did not know before. The dress code changes depending on which enclosure you're visiting. So there's no dress code for the Windsor enclosure, but most people decide to dress up for that. But there's a very strict dress code across the Royal and Queen Anne enclosures, and hats are a must in both enclosures. So let's look on now at Eugenie and what she was wearing, including her hat. This dress that she's wearing is called a red twist neck crepe dress. It's by a company called Whistles. It's 199 pounds. She paired it with a color matching pillbox hat by Emily London. Now the hat was 795 pounds, and she completed the look with her Aquazzura bow tie heels in beige at 655 pounds, and her suede bag, which by the way was almost 1,500 pounds. But the dress was very affordable. I really like that. Now, eventually, everybody made it up to the royal box. Remember, Eugenie was one of the few royals that actually showed up on the last day of Ascot, but these two were seen, canoodling, I guess would be the nice thing to say. They had a lot of high fives, they were beaming at each other, and yeah, very sweet. They've been married, 5 years now, 6 years now? But remember, they've been together since 2010. Very solid couple. Now, of course, we have the list of everybody that was handing out awards. So let's take a look at what, happened there. Now, Princess Eugenie presented the trophy to the Connections of Rebels Romance, who was the winner of the Hardwick Stakes. Trainer Charlie Appleby and his mother Patricia collected the prize. Then we had King Charles and Queen Camilla posing with the winner of the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes, horse breeder Olivia Tate. People are putting a lot of jokes up online saying that King Charles was not supposed to go down. But if you remember the other day, I showed where the jockey kissed Queen Camilla. And so the joke was Charles wasn't supposed to be there, but he went down to make sure that didn't happen again. No more kissing of his wife. A thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what Eugenie was wearing. Let's move on. All right, next up, the King put something up on Twitter the other day to mark Windrush Day. That's the day that they mark the contribution of the Caribbean men, women, and children who arrived in Britain after the Second World War to help rebuild the country. So in 2023, the 75th anniversary of the arrival of the Empire Windrush, the King commissioned 10 artists to create portraits of 10 pioneering members of the Windrush generation, and those portraits now all hang in Buckingham Palace. I remember reporting on that 2 years ago. Fabulous. All right, let's move on. Now, sticking with King Charles, he recorded a personal message for Antarctic researchers because the Southern Hemisphere marks the shortest day of the year. So while the UK has its longest day of sunlight on Saturday, this past Saturday, British scientists at the South Pole actually had 24 hours of darkness. Isn't that crazy? And by the way, I love this new picture of King Charles that was recently released. Isn't that just fabulous? Such a homey looking room. All right, let's move on now to our Harry Meghan stuff. Here we go. All right, we're going back to the podcast. Remember when during the podcast, Meghan was asked if she could rewrite her public narrative, what would she do differently? And Meghan goes, I would ask people to tell the truth. And the woman that was doing the podcast came back and said, you're very measured. I would just get so angry if I felt like everyone was lying about me all the time. And Meghan goes, you go through these chapters and you do a lot of work and you do a lot of self-work and you go, what's the why? It's happening for a reason. But then she said, my dear friend Serena said that a lie can't live forever. And 8 years is a long time, but not forever. So everybody's like, what is the lie? What is she referring to? So what people are saying is, the fact is, Meghan is a constant liar. Her whole brand is built on a spin of lies. Nobody should trust anything she says. And it's very, very low of her to insinuate we should listen to her truth or the royal family should tell the truth, because the lack of authenticity in that interview was palpable. This woman has had a revolving door of staff on this side of the pond. She had bullying allegations leveled at her from her time at Kensington Palace. Nobody wants to hear her truth because the fact of the matter is she's a constant liar. People do tell the truth about her, but that's what she doesn't like. And they're also saying no one would even listen to her if it wasn't for the fact of who she married. And that's 100% true. Meghan's popularity has been plummeting, not only in the UK, but also in the US, and she ranks near the bottom of multiple polls. And what they're saying is this last interview she gave was a sad tale of desperation, which I completely agree. At this point, she's got to be desperate. And let's move on to one of the bigger stories of today. Unbelievable. It's being alleged that Harry, while he's in the UK in Birmingham for the Invictus Games, is going to be inviting King Charles and Prince William to the ceremony. Here's my thought process on it. He already knows they're not going to come, so he can send them an invitation so he can say, look at me. I'm trying to fix it, but they just won't talk to me. This estrangement is not on me, it's on them. And then, of course, he can play victim a little more. That's what I think is actually going to happen. It's being alleged he's going to email the invitations to Buckingham Palace later this month, which will be later followed by formal invitations will be sent closer to time. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Of course, Harry decided that this next Invictus Games should take place at the same time as Queen Camilla's 80th birthday. The games are opening on July 12th and they finish on the 17th. So this all takes place during Queen Camilla's birthday. He could have pushed it back a week or gone forward a week. His choice of dates I find to be very suspect. This smacks of emotional manipulation, the same thing that Harry's doing by putting out pictures of his kids. He's trying to emotionally manipulate King Charles. Remember what happened with the Invictus Games in Germany? This is back when they accused the royals of not caring about the veterans. Oh, they don't care because they're not showing up. Let me remind you that when they had the Invictus Games service in London, Harry cried foul that his family didn't show up, even though they had a garden party that had been on the books for months. And also, don't forget, he claimed that they denied him a place to stay, but come to find out they did offer it to him and he denied it and said, no, thank you. Let me also remind you that Meghan decided to launch her summer collection on William's birthday. And now it has not skipped everybody's attention that Prince Harry's mother died from a drunk driver, and yet Meghan Markle has decided that she is going to flog her new wine and sell it on Princess Diana's birthday. It's a cheap shot. Everybody knows what she's doing. It's so predictable at this point. But here's the thing. Her product description is hints that it has a touch of orange blossom, like all these different products. Well, people aren't stupid. They went searching, and what do you think they found? Well, that would be Princess Diana's favorite perfume. And guess what the description says? Oh, it's got jasmine and a hint of orange blossoms. It's probably the perfume that Meghan wore on her first date with Harry. Anyway, as far as Invictus goes, people need to remember, everybody's like, Harry's founded it. Harry. No, it wasn't Harry. It was the Royal Foundation. It was Harry, William, Charles, and the Defense Ministry. And it was done to give Harry something to do. Now, the big question is, will Meghan go back to the UK? Because after all, Harry lost his security case. And what kind of security would they have? Remember, the UK is more dangerous than Colombia or Nigeria. Do I think she's going to miss the chance to get the 5 outfits a day for 5 days and prance around? No, I don't think she's going to miss that chance. I think she will be there in the UK no matter what she says. They'll just bring their private security and she'll prance around like she always does. She's not going to miss it, I'm telling you. You know, after the constant attacks on the family with the Oprah show, the Cut interview, the recent BBC interview, I mean, I could go on and on and on, the spare. But the point is, so much damage has been done. They're saying at this point that William, one of his friends, said he no longer cares what Harry says. He just doesn't mention him at all. He's completely out of his mind. It used to be that the family stuff was taking up a lot of space in his head because they did have a close relationship. But it's such a change. It's very sad, but it's a healthier space for him to be in. The brothers don't talk at all anymore. And I have a feeling that as soon as William becomes king, Harry and Meghan and the kids are no longer going to have their HRH and the kids are going to lose their prince and princess titles. They will never work for the royal family. Now with that, Meghan put up another one of her videos that made absolutely no sense. You see a rolling pin and some fresh thyme and some eggs. Everything is very carefully curated. There's flowers sprinkled in the midst of all the baking. But in the top left of the image, you see a black mouse cursor. So, you know, this woman who supposedly does all this attention to detail forgot a big detail. You know, Meghan then put a video up. It's another one of these videos that shows all this fruit to make you think that she's the one making this jam and filling these tea bags. She made sure that she featured very prominently in this video. She was in a lot of the scenes. The truth is, this stuff is not in season. She's not the one who makes it. Somebody else makes it and she slaps a label on it. That's how it works. And even then, she's still using her daughter. Look at me, Lily, over here. Come on. And finally, for those of you who don't know, Harry and Meghan's new PR executive is a former Netflix PR executive. This woman that they hired was responsible for promoting The Crown from seasons 3 to season 6. She oversaw the global publicity for storylines such as Harry in a Nazi fancy dress, Diana's panorama interview, and the ghost Diana that was talking to the Queen. She was also on the team that fought against calls for a disclaimer when in series 5, the show showed Charles plotting against the Queen and savoring the possibility of her abdicating. It's being alleged that Harry and Meghan are very fully aware of this woman's link to the Crown and to Netflix. But remember, Prince Harry previously said he didn't mind watching The Crown. Remember when he was on the bus with his friends James Corden? He said, they don't pretend to be news. It's fiction, but it's loosely based on the truth. And I'm way more comfortable with The Crown than I am seeing these stories written about my family, my wife, or myself. Now, Robert Hartman, in his latest book, King Charles III, The Inside Story, said that Charles was very irritated after the interview. So after the Diana interview. So when Harry and Meghan struck their own deal with Netflix, why would Harry have spoken if he didn't have a contact with the broadcaster? Something was stinking. You guys get exactly what I'm saying. And finally, I found this on Twitter. One of William's charities is friends with Flamingo Estates. If you guys remember, Meghan went out and spoke with these people who founded Flamingo Estates. She wanted to partner with them, and they said no. And it looks like she took everything she learned from them and applied it to whatever it is she's trying to sell now. That's just crazy. All right, you know what to do. Hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the links to my Twitter, Gettr, Rumble, email, a link to my Amazon wish list, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, and a link to my second channel, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.